Welcome to my 10 Steps to Online Success workshop. I'm so excited you're tuning in and I can't wait to share these steps with you. I do want to start off with a spoiler alert first, and that is this workshop isn't about the current social media trends or what you're probably thinking when I say online success. That's because strategies and algorithms are only part of the formula. The other half, and honestly the more important half that people avoid mentioning, is that you must have a strong sense of who you or your brand or your business are before you can have authority and influence online. It's that simple. I have been doing a lot of social media consulting lately, and everyone wants to talk about what kind of content gets the most views or how to hack the algorithms. I've also been sharing on my personal accounts about how I'm getting over 30,000 views monthly on my YouTube account that just broke only 1,000 subscribers. People see me share about how I'm monetizing my videos and making money, and they say, I want you to do that to my YouTube, or you can use my YouTube if you ever need a guinea pig. But there's a prerequisite to that conversation that no one is having, and it's that algorithms and strategies only work if you're sharing content that people want to see. And that's the harder conversation to have because it means you have to do some digging to figure out what that is for you. Algorithms and trends are great, but if you're feeling stuck with your online presence and want to really be seen, that's not what you need to be focusing on. And I've been having this conversation one-on-one with a lot of friends and clients lately. So recently I sat down and really honed in on how and why I've been able to grow Biz Besties to thousands of members across the world, how I turned my freelance work into what's now Designing the Row, and it all came down to these 10 steps. And honestly, somewhat to my surprise, I realized that my success online has had little to do with social media. I know you're probably questioning that since I'm already talking about YouTube and Biz Besties is a Facebook group. But the success of these things are because of what I've done off of social media. And also because I didn't make my main focus the social media aspect. But more on all that later. At this point, 4 years into running my business full-time, it's easy to look back on what has been successful for me and reverse engineer it to say, yes, this was my process to get to this point. But hindsight is definitely 2020, so that 10-step process is exactly what I'm going to share with you in this workshop so that you can know exactly what to focus on or not focus on in order to get seen and heard online. And then at the end, if you want to get into specific online marketing strategies, I'll share a little bit about how we can work together so you can get customized feedback on your current goals. Real quick, if you're new to me, I am Katherine Forbes, founder of Designing the Row, which offers website design and online brand audits. I've launched over 100 websites, and my client roster has over a dozen Grammy Award-winning and nominated artists and producers, and I'm really proud of that. As I was starting Designing the Row, though, I was working at home for myself and by myself and really craving support, feedback, and community. So I started a Facebook group called Biz Besties. I figured it would be a place for my Nashville network to connect regularly online rather than sporadically at shows or events. And then the group turned into 300 people from across the world in the first week, and now it's pushing 6,000 members. It even got a shout out on Forbes in the early days and has since put me on the map in ways that have allowed me to speak on panels for Yelp, Music Biz, NSAI, WeWork, and at various other events. And now I want to share with you what I deem as my online success of both Designing the Row and Biz Besties, because I see so many clients and friends getting burnout from trying to keep up on socials in an attempt to grow their businesses or careers. And I just want to bring a new perspective to this conversation of what it takes to stand out online, because I personally have never heard it put this way. So, tell me in the comments if you've ever wondered how to stand out online, how to get more engagement, more likes, or more followers, how to better promote your business or your music online, how to make more sales online, Or have you ever wondered if you have to be on all the social media platforms? Or have you ever said anything like, social media is hard, it's frustrating, and it isn't getting me anywhere? Or my industry is oversaturated? Or I'm feeling burnout from socials? Or have you said stuff like, Facebook just doesn't work for me? What else? Tell me in the chat why you decided to come to this workshop today. Look, I'm not going to lie. I've felt all of these things before. I think we all have. But here's where this workshop is different from what else is out there. Where most people might offer you a list of hashtags to help you get more engagement on Instagram, or sell you a course on Facebook ads, or coach you on how to launch an online course, I'm here to throw all that out the window and say those solutions are not the answer to your online success. I'm here to tell you that you're asking the wrong questions. It's not, how do I stand out online? It's not about knowing the algorithms, trends, influencers, or even things like hashtags or reels, or what type of content does best on what platform either. Even though I do love nerding out on some analytics. Because at the end of the day, trends change. But what's not going to change is you and your mission to put your message out into the world. What you need to be asking yourself is, how do I create content that's worthy of standing out? Or what's something in the market that I could make better? Or what's something people come to me for advice about? The answer to those questions are going to be your unique secret to online success. Are you getting where I'm going with this? Before I dive into my process, I want to repeat something I said at the very beginning, and that is you must have a strong sense of who you or your brand or your business are before you can have authority and influence online. It's that simple. I know social media is everywhere these days, and it's easy to get sucked in and think your social media success is a direct reflection of your business success, or compare yourself to others, or feel like you're behind or not doing enough while you're scrolling, or even get sidetracked trying strategy after strategy because it worked for so-and-so. But the reason you feel so overwhelmed with social media and why you're trying to find that hack to achieve online success, or at least I'm guessing that's what you want since you're here for this workshop, is because you're trying to keep up with all of that. Is that Instagram reel of you throwing your shoe and changing outfits helping to move your brand forward? Or how about the reel of you pointing to a bunch of words? Can you take those views and likes to the bank? Same with your Facebook or Instagram lives, or better yet, your new Clubhouse account. Are you actually trying to stand out, or are you just following along because it's what's new and trendy right now? Side note, I do ask a lot of rhetorical questions, so don't say I didn't warn you. Here's another question and spoiler alert for you. Since when did standing out online look like copying exactly what everyone else is doing? To me, it sounds like quite the opposite, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. After all, I'm here to help you, I promise. At the end of the day, you can either be the person who is the noise online, or you can follow my 10-step process so when you do show up online, it makes sense and it makes an impact. If the latter sounds like what you're after, then I hope you're willing to accept that being a success online means working on your brand offline first. So about this process I'm about to outline for you. It is exactly what I did to start and grow both Designing the Row and Music Biz Besties. It's a 10-step process that you just repeat over and over again as you grow your business or career. You'll notice I don't talk much about social media as I go through this process though, and that's on purpose. Unless your job is to be an influencer or an actual social media content creator, the social media and the online presence part should just serve as an extension of your brand. It's not what creates or defines your brand. It's simply a way to share about what you're doing, build community with others around a shared passion or interest, and to be an outlet that allows you to bring value to your audience. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to download the printable worksheet that goes along with this workshop so you can have the process to not only visually see as I go through it here, but also to refer back to, as you go through the process. There's a link to it in the description below, and I will also pop it in a comment too if that's easier for you to get to. So, the process. I'll start by giving you the quick rundown of the 10-step process. None of these steps are groundbreaking, and I know that, but that's just the thing. It doesn't have to be so hard. What you do need to note, though, is the order of these steps and how important it is to go through each one before moving on to the next. That's the secret here. It's what people miss. And honestly, the main reason I decided to create this workshop is because what I've noticed is that people are focusing on what I consider steps 1, 5, and 9. And sometimes not even particularly in that order. And then when things don't take off as they hoped, they put the blame on social media. So here are the steps. 1, identify a need. Step 2, determine how to fill the gap. Step 3, personally invite people to be part of your initiative. Step 4, engage and show up and listen. Step 5, create offerings. And not just any offering, create offerings around your audience's requests. Step 6, refine your skills and step up to the next level. Step 7, continue to help existing clients and grow your network. Step 8, focus on referrals, sales, and growth. Step 9, improve your offerings. And step 10, simplify and uplevel. But to truly explain and drive this process home, I don't think I can just leave you there. So I'm going to give you a series of the mistakes I see people making with this process in hopes that you can better understand my perspective and then course correct depending on where you're getting mixed up. Mistake number 1 is the 159 focus that I mentioned. See if this sounds familiar. You found a hole in the marketplace that you decided you want to fill. Whether that's as a business or a musician, let's just call it your brand from now on. You've identified a want and need for what it is that you do. So you start all your social media accounts, obsess over your default photos, your bio, your first post, your first followers, and so on. Next, you set out to create your offerings, products, music, whatever it is that you want to sell, right? You identified the need. Now it's time to get to work and create that thing. You create it, put it out on social media, and, well, it doesn't take off the way you hoped. So what do? You get back to it and pour all of your time and effort into making version 2.0 of your thing. Then you get all excited and maybe do a social media countdown or a big social media announcement for thing 2.0. But it still doesn't get a great response. So you do one of two things. Either 1, you decide this means you need to pivot. Hey, you gave it a couple tries. Your social media response wasn't big, so you pivot and you start the same process all over again. Find a new need, create the product, create it again, pivot again. You're stuck on steps 1, 5, and 9. Do you know why? Because you instantly went from finding a need to promoting yourself to people. Hello, remember, you rely on those people for your brand to be a success. So don't get so excited you leave out steps 2, 3, and 4 along the way. Or here's mistake number 2. You go backwards through my 10-step process. Maybe you started your brand by doing steps 1, 5, and 9, and once you didn't get the social media response you wished for, you realize you're pretty detached from your audience, so you should probably engage with them. But the more you do that, the more confused you get. You start thinking your lack of engagement in sales is because you need to be more authentic, more specific. This is when those Instagram reels and Clubhouse chats, or whatever they're called, come in. You're being real, being fun, connecting with your people, and getting in on the latest trends, right? Plus, you see those analytic numbers go up more than they have been. It must be working. Now you're pumped up again and decide you need to come up with your why and a new strategy for social media. Get even more clear on what it is you're doing. You give that a shot, but then you get burnout on social media and give up on it, and instead, you create a new offering and the process starts all over again. Did you catch what happened in that second scenario? Your business purpose turned into chasing the social media content machine. Remember what I keep saying though. You did not start your brand just to post on social media. Social media is simply a platform to use to share about your brand. Hopefully that message is starting to click for you. I know how tempting it can be to want to rush into creating your thing and your social media content, but please, pretty please, don't skip over the important steps of establishing yourself and your ideas just to get to the point of putting yourself out there online. The processing and learning about yourself steps are arguably the most important. If you don't know what it is you have to offer, how will you ever be successful at communicating that online? The answer is you won't. I'm going to give you some next steps in a minute, but I want to give you a couple more specific examples of where I see people constantly going wrong. I'm not doing this to call anyone out, but thinking maybe if any of these sound like you, then this will encourage you to slow down and reassess. Mistake number 3 is about the typical emerging artist. I've seen this with multiple clients of mine. They come to me for a website, and they have a new album, but zero audience and zero clue about how the industry works. And they want a 6-page website that's like their favorite established artist, and they want to be on every social media platform. Okay, I help them create their website, but without fail, a couple months later, they reach back out. And surprise, you guessed it, they're coming out with a new album. Because for sure, this will be the one that takes off. Look, the build it and they will come mentality doesn't work. You have to go through those first few steps of my process. I understand that might be harder with the way things are this year, but normally for a new artist that's meant going to shows, meeting people, playing rounds, doing co-writes, figuring out your style of music and what lands best with your listeners, writing enough to figure out what message you're trying to share through your music, gaining confidence, and all of that. And then maybe it's time to talk about a website and creating a brand for social media. Mistake number 4, just one more, is the new online business. And I don't care what type of experience you may or may not have, this one always looks the same. It's similar to the 159 situation, and it plays out like this. New website for a new business, new social accounts, new products and services, and then crickets. Again, the expectation here is that you can build it and they will come. It's a classic example of identifying a need, creating offerings and getting all the accounts going online, and then immediately diving into improving and creating new offerings. I want you to get out of that rut. It's a never-ending stressful cycle, and these situations are what lead people to think that social media or online sales funnels are the problem. But they're not. The somewhat harsh reality is that you're getting ahead of yourself. So if any of those scenarios I just went through sound familiar, you're in the right place. I want to help you get all of these steps in the right order, so not only are you able to stand out online, but so that you can have overall success and confidence with what it is that you're doing. So if that sounds good, let me know you're still with me in the chat. Give this video a thumbs up. And honestly, I'm not one to usually use a lot of words. I know that was a long intro to get to these 10 steps. But if you just take one thing from this workshop today, I hope it's that online success isn't about how or when you show up online. It's all in the what you share online. And to help you figure out the what, I think it's best to explain this process and how it works by walking you through how I applied these 10 steps with both Designing the Row and Music Biz Besties as examples. So first, Designing the Row. Long story short, I started my career right out of college in artist management as an intern, and then moved up to part-time shortly after that. From there, I got my first full-time job at the International Bluegrass Music Association, and then about a year later, I went back to the artist management team full-time. So, from 2011 to 2016, about 5 years, I worked with and met a lot of artists. Not to be rude, but the bluegrass world is a little behind when it comes to establishing themselves online. I saw a lot of bad websites and social media graphics while processing memberships for the association. That's when I first identified a need. Step 1. Like, wow, these people need help. I could help them with this. Then I went back to artist management, and one of the first things I was asked to do was put together a list of website design companies because our artist was coming out with a new album and it was time for a website rebrand. Well, I researched website design companies, made my list, and then I put my name on that list. I saw what was out there and decided I could do the things they were doing. That was step 2, determine how to fill the gap. Before this, I knew people needed help, but I had to figure out exactly how I was going to be of any help. And well, I ended up doing the website. Then I did a website for the other band on the artist management roster too. And then their record label started sharing my name. And the manager I worked for shared my name out to her network as she was retiring to let people know I was taking on clients of my own, which greatly helped me accomplish step 3, personally invite people to work with me. So then, on to step 4, engage, show up, and listen. Luckily, those referrals started turning into clients, and I worked my butt off on nights and weekends because I was still working my artist management job too. Notice though, I have not said a thing about starting social media accounts yet. I didn't even have a business name. I didn't have brand colors. I didn't even have a website to promote my offerings. But see how easy it could have been for me to go from, oh, I'm getting freelance work, to I better establish myself online to get the word out. That's where it all goes wrong, because then you're trying to keep up online before you even get started. But back to the steps. Step 5. I created offerings around the requests I was getting. Other managers were basically having me do assistant manager type tasks for them. I was updating tour dates for artists online, creating social media graphics, posting on social media accounts, and pretty much whatever anyone would pay me to do that was related to helping artists online. Doing all that work led me to realize I actually didn't like offering social media or tour management services. Imagine if I'd been all in on social media offering management assistant services. Backing out of that is harder when you're promoting it all the time rather than how I did it, which was to get all my ducks in a row before stressing about sharing online. The last thing you want to do is confuse your audience. If you don't know what you're offering, how the heck are they supposed to know how you can help them or what you have to offer? So on to step 6, where I refined my skills and stepped up to the next level. I cut my social media and management type services and went full-time with Designing the Row as a website design company. Around this time is when I decided to give this thing a name. Designing the Row had been the tagline of a blog I started to share what I was learning and doing in artist management. People caught on to the name and started asking, "How's Designing the Row going?" And in my mind, I thought it was cute that they thought this was something when it wasn't. But it ended up being the perfect transition for me to use it as my business name. And this goes back to step 3, which is all about getting feedback, a crucial step that gets skipped in the 159 scenario. I put something out there and it stuck, so I decided to run with it. I picked some brand colors, bought the designingtherow.com domain name, and got accounts started on social media. Step 7 is to continue to help existing clients and to network. And that's exactly what I did. I went to events, conferences, and, I started my own community. Why not? Music Biz Besties, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Step 8 was an important lesson for me to learn. I was starting to go down that social media path, trying to keep up online, promote my services online. I'd put $5 behind a Facebook post here and there. I'd host weekly webinars because that was the thing back in 2017. And then I realized none of those efforts were bringing me clients. That's why step 8 is to focus on referrals, sales, and growth. Referrals were and still are how I get most of my business. So why was I spending so much time on social media? Now, I know this might be different for your brand, but when someone is looking for a website designer, they don't go to Instagram or Facebook. They ask their friends who they've worked with, or they search around on websites to find one that they like. That's how I get found. Then they end up on my website or social media and decide to take the next step from there. So I started offering my clients affiliate commissions for sending their friends my way. Much more impactful than a random $5 ad spend on Facebook, if you ask me. In my case, and the point of this whole workshop, is really that social media and online success is not about trying to connect with strangers to get them to buy into what you're offering. It's about building up a strong offline brand in order to be able to add value on social media. Then, when you get a referral and someone checks you out on social media, your messaging isn't buy this or buy that, but it's educational, entertaining, and valuable content that shows off what you do and helps them make the decision to say yes. And then, naturally, over time, I was able to improve my offerings, which is step 9, and by doing that, I was led to step 10, simplify and up-level. And you know how you do that? You start the process all over again. You continually have to find the gaps, network and personally connect with people, listen to what people need, refine your offerings and grow your skills, nurture your existing clients, focus on what's actually impacting your bottom line, improve, simplify, keep going, and just keep repeating this process over and over. So many people these days are selling the idea that there are shortcuts to becoming a success online, whether that's by creating and selling online courses, being a business coach, selling music memberships online so you don't have to tour. What else is there? You know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm here to tell you there's no shortcut, and social media numbers aren't everything, especially if you want to be in this for the long haul. What you can't always see happening in this 10-step process is that it also means you are gaining clarity on what you truly love doing. You're gaining life experience, confidence. I mean, this process has even given me the space to learn how to better speak up for myself and help me gain and grow industry relationships too. There's no shortcut to any of that, but all of those things are essential to your success, online and offline. Wouldn't you agree? Seriously though, this should actually be a relief. To stand out online, I'm telling you to focus on that thing that you do best and stop stressing about social media strategies, trends, funnels, comparison, whatever it is that's got you stressed out. If you put social media first and let your craft, whatever that is, take a sideline, then the online stuff isn't even going to matter. So I want to help you reverse and simplify what you're currently doing. If you don't post on social media for a week, it's not going to be the end of the world. If you don't want to be on TikTok or Clubhouse, again, not the end of the world. If you're trying to come up with your 100th product idea that you're hoping this time will work, slow down. Okay, now let me walk you through my Music Biz Besties example, and then I'll give you some action steps for each of my 10 steps so that you can get on track. And if you have the worksheet and you're a note taker like I am, take notes about what I did at each step so you can apply the same concepts for your own brand. One other thing I want to add in real quick. Maybe you're like me and you have multiple brands you're building at once. It's okay to be on different steps for different projects. Each project will be going through these steps in its own time. I mean, even with designing the row, my website work might be at a step 9 right now, while this workshop project and a new coordinating service are on step 6. For Besties right now, I'd say I'm somewhere between steps 9 and 10. And why not be an overachiever and add something else in too, right? I started writing my own piano music over the past year, so for that, I'm still at the very beginning on steps 1 and 2, even though I've been playing piano since I was 7. Each project will have its own pace, and that's totally fine. You'll notice the pace gets faster each time you repeat the process. So for designing the row, when I have a new idea, it doesn't take me as long to go from 1 to 10 as what I'm experiencing with my piano music right now, because I'm still figuring out how to even position myself and discover what it is I want to put out into the world. Make sense? So pick a certain project you're feeling stuck on right now and see if, as I go through my best example, if you can figure out exactly where you are in the process. Step 1, identify a need. Like I said at the very beginning, I identified the need for Music Biz Besties because I personally wanted support and community, and I couldn't find it. Step 2, and listen closely. I did not start a Facebook group just because Facebook groups were all the rage at the time. I first identified that I needed a community and decided that I could accomplish that through starting a Facebook group. But guess what? I did not start a Music Biz Besties Twitter, Instagram, or even a website right off the bat. In fact, I still don't even have a Twitter. Because step 3, I personally reached out to my network and invited them to join the Facebook group. I had one mission: to create a community, not to start a million social media accounts or take over Facebook with Music Biz Besties. I was simply trying to create community, and because of that, I truly think people could feel how genuine it was and got just as excited with me and invited all of their friends too. I didn't say, join my group, follow me on my Facebook page, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, sign up for emails. No, one thing. And I personally invited people via emails or private message. I didn't just take to socials in hopes that I could capture the attention of strangers. Remember, success comes when you're able to make an impact and add value for others. Success is not just given to whoever has the most followers. Then on to step 4, engage, show up, and listen. Sure, I had put together a spreadsheet of what I thought the Facebook group could become, but once people got in the group that first week, it totally became something else. Did I try to force what I wanted it to be? No. I abandoned that spreadsheet and I listened. People were looking for jobs, and people were looking to grow their personal network. So you know what I did? I moved on to step 5, where I created a Music Biz Besties website to feature a job forum and a bestie directory. In other words, I created offerings around what people requested. I keep talking about people skipping from step 1 immediately to step 5, so I hope you see the reason I had success with getting traffic to my site so quickly. It's because I created it after I was confident I knew what people wanted from it. And in turn, I also grew my email list and Facebook group too. Not because I hacked the algorithm or jumped on the latest social strategy. Simply because I listened to what people wanted and delivered it in a way that I felt made most sense. Step 6 is to refine your skills and step up to the next level. For Music Biz Besties, I'd been posting in the Facebook group every day with a prompt to encourage conversations. So at this time, I decided it was time to automate this process. I got a buffer account and scheduled out my daily prompts so I wasn't wasting so much time every day coming up with social media content. And I still rely on this process 4 years later. Step 7, continue to help my existing network. I was messaging members to get to know them. I started hosting monthly in-person meetups here in Nashville. And really, I was just loving on and getting to know the besties I already had and truly creating the community that I was craving myself. Step 8, focus on referrals, sales, and growth. For besties, this looked like asking people to invite their friends or bring a friend to a meetup. It was growth in terms of expanding the community. And at this point, I finally gave in and started an Instagram account too, because people were asking me to do it. Step 9, improve offerings. For besties, I've sold mentorship, membership, and a few things here and there. But that's just because I'm constantly trying to answer the request of the members. But honestly, none of that has ever felt like a right fit for me. Mostly, I just try to give as much support and encouragement to those in the group as possible. I recently put up a series of digital downloads on the Besties site that answer the frequently asked questions of, how do I get a job? Or how can I get better at networking? How do I follow up after a meeting? How can I learn more about the industry? As I take on step 9. And finally, step 10, simplify and uplevel. This step is truly a constant for both Besties and Designing the Row. I'm always asking, what truly makes a difference and how can I focus on that? How can I make that better and more impactful? For Besties, this has meant a lot of changes lately. A lot of what I was doing was starting to feel more like busy work than truly helping others. So I cut the weekly job emails, I stopped taking new directory applications, and I put all of my networking advice into an online workshop similar to this, and I'm offering digital downloads as my new simple way to give people my advice on getting hired, networking, and so on. And now I repeat. Back to square one. Anything new I do, I need to really validate the idea, get feedback, listen to what people are asking for, and so on. Hopefully, me sharing how I went through the 10 steps with both Designing the Row and Biz Besties has helped you figure out where you might be in the process. At least, I hope it has. Because now I want to talk about what your next step should be. Let me know in the chat if you figured out which step you're on, and let me clarify by saying this might not necessarily be the step where you are currently taking action, but I want to know what the first step is that you've skipped over. You can see I've had steps 1, 5, and 9 bolded this whole time because I know that's where people tend to go. So really look at those steps in between and think about if you've truly given those steps a real chance. And hopefully you will then be able to pinpoint where you are in the process. So now I'm going to give you an action item for each step. So depending on which step you're on, you'll know exactly what to take action on to get to the next step and ultimately get closer to your own version of online success. I also know that most likely you have already started all of your social media accounts, and I don't want to ignore that and have you think that I'm telling you to get off social media, because I'm not. So in these action items, I've incorporated ways that you can use socials for each step of the process. And if you aren't on social media yet by any chance, use my Designing the Row or Biz Besties stories as inspiration to take it slowly and let things grow organically. Okay? Okay. So, step 1. Get started by making a list of ideas of things that you're good at or think that are missing in your field that you might want to turn into a business or career. If you want to use socials for this step, make a list of people or brands that you admire and analyze what they're doing online. Once you do that, though, you're going to need to figure out how you can operate in the same space, but with your own spin. I remember when I was first starting, right after I decided to go ahead with the name Designing the Row, which, by the way, is named after Music Row here in Nashville, I booked a session at the Entrepreneur Center. The mentor had me list out some of the competitors in my space. At the time, I was still on the social media marketing kick, so my competition was marketing agencies. We listed out what they offered and what I liked about each brand. And then she helped me realize my unique spin was this educational element that I was feeling pulled towards. It's funny on how on one hand it feels like so much has changed in 4 years, but at the same time, I'm still super passionate about teaching others what I know, which is why you and I are both here right now. I'm also about to release a series of 15 tutorial videos on YouTube, all about how to create and launch an online store using Squarespace. So don't skip this step because it can really help you reveal important marketing information. So again, step 1, identify a need. List out your competition because it proves that there's a need because they're already fulfilling it. And then figure out what makes you different and use that in your social copy. Step 2, and I'll go through the rest of these quicker than I did that first one, I promise. Figure out how to fill that gap by getting involved. Join Facebook groups or other online communities. You can search Instagram hashtags to connect with others. If you're a musician, start sharing music by playing live, whether in person or online. Basically, what I'm trying to say is find out where and how you might be able to offer value that you listed out in step 1. Step 3 is where you personally invite people to what you're doing. This is where you can create and put out your initial beta offer. Ask people in your close circles for feedback. Do you have a new online course? Share it with a couple friends or trusted peers on the premise that they'll give you feedback. Or if you're lucky like I was, maybe you have friends or family willing to share about what you're looking to do with their friends. Step 4, engage, show up, and listen. Are you just spewing trendy content out on social media just to be active? Or are you truly listening to what people are saying? Be present and listen. Don't just look at your like or follower numbers. Actually listen. Get feedback about your product, service, or music. What are people resonating with? What do the analytics say? Figure out why. Step 5. Niche your content and create offerings based on the feedback you got in step 4. For designing the row, this is when I cut down on the services I offered. And for besties, this has looked like narrowing down from the music industry as the general topic of the group to specifically focusing on networking in the music industry. And honestly, that's still a transition I'm working on making. Step 6, refine your skills. Once you release the beta of your thing and you get feedback, you'll see where your gaps are. Dive in and step up to the next level. This is where you can get into content creation and create social content based on what's working well. For designing the row, just because I decided to focus on website design didn't mean it was smooth sailing from there. Still to this day, I'm constantly working on refining my design skills, SEO knowledge, and services in general. Step 7, engage. Engage with your existing audience. Get out of the mentality of having to grow your follower count. Don't forget the people who are already following you. Get personal and really show them behind the scenes of all that you do. Love on them and it will pay off. An example I can give you here is about Biz Besties meetups. One time I saw someone post in the group asking if anyone in Nashville wanted to meet up for happy hour. The post got 20 comments of people wanting to join in, and it got a lot of likes too. Then the last comment is from the girl who originally made the invite, saying that no one showed up, so maybe someone else could try to organize something in the future. Okay, now why didn't this work? Because she relied on social media. She didn't know any of these girls, which is fine, but a public post is not going to hold people accountable to show up. I learned that early on, and it's actually a big reason why I even started Besties in the first place. In order to get people to show up to a meetup, you have to do the work off social media. That's exactly how I organized my Besties Worldwide meetup in January 2020. Yes, I made posts in the group about it, but those honestly didn't get much attention. But I got over 100 RSVPs from members in 9 cities across the globe because I put in the work via email and personal connections. I engaged with those who were most active in my existing audience in the Facebook group. This wasn't about finding a bunch of new people to get together. It was about making those already in my community feel like they belonged and like they were seen. And it worked because I focused on making true connections with them individually outside of the Facebook group. Step 8, promotion. Figure out what is getting you the most sales. How can you encourage more of that? And then do it. And then use the topic you narrow in on as a show and tell for your socials. If referrals are working for you like they do for me, show off your clients on socials so then they share back. Or maybe giveaways bring you more sales. Partner with another brand to do a giveaway so you can bring in new potential buyers. Step 9, improve your offerings. If you did step 8 properly, you just got more business or sales. So now it's time to improve things even more. Think about creating exclusive content or refining your client workflow. You could release a bonus track, an exclusive music video, an add-on service, a new workshop. Hello, this is what I'm doing. Automate your onboarding process, and so on. Then you can use social media to promote and share about whatever it is you've improved. Step 10, assess again. What's working? What's busy work? Simplify and up-level. Gather the social proof, the testimonials, and share those on socials to show off all you've accomplished through this round, through the 10-step process before you start all over. Because when you are ready to add a new aspect to what you do, you have to start all over again from step 1. So what do you think? I'd love to hear what thoughts this brought up for you. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to drop those in the chat or the comments below. And while you shoot over your questions, I have one more story for you that just really goes to show how important steps 2 through 4 are. I know how confusing and frustrating it is to be patient enough to truly go through steps 2 and 4 through 4 and not jump ahead to creating your offerings. After all, there are so many gurus and experts out there teaching you how to create that membership or sell that course or release that album. And it's tempting to get right to it. Am I right? I know I've fallen for the hype several times before. When I was in artist management, I became obsessed with watching the Google Analytics of the artist websites I had designed. Whenever we'd send out a marketing email, I'd be glued to the analytics page the second I hit send on the email. If I posted something on social media for one of the artists, I'd immediately go check their Google Analytics. In doing so, I learned not only how to get traffic to websites, but also how to keep people engaged and what type of traffic converted the best. So each month, just because I was into it, I'd create a digital report for each of our artists to share with the artist and the management team. Well, the manager started sending my reports over to the record label president, and that's really how I made a name for myself. That's how I have the client roster I do today, because I sat in step 4 until I gained not only the confidence, but the authority and the respect to move to step 5 and create my own services. So many people say they have imposter syndrome around what they're doing. Do you know why? It's because they're falling into the 1-5-9 trap, right? The other thing people like to say is, start before you're ready. And I somewhat agree, but I'm here to say that doesn't mean skip the important steps along the way. Start before you're ready does not mean start at step 5. It means start at step 1 even if you have no idea what's next or no idea where you're going. Just get started, stick to my steps, and you'll figure it out. I'm going to put my action item version of the steps back up so you can screenshot them because these don't live anywhere else. The worksheet just has the other version, and this list is specifically for those who hang around with me until the end here. So thanks for making it this far. If you'd like extra help along the way of your 10 steps, I spent 2020 going through the steps myself, and it led me to create a new version of my digital reports. I realized that just because I'm not the one creating online marketing campaigns doesn't mean I can't offer support to help others make sure they have everything set up and optimized properly to support that amazing content. With my online audits, I go through all of your online platforms and give you my feedback categorized by priorities, suggestions, and comments on everything from how to boost your website's SEO score, my advice on your actual website content layout and design, an analysis of how you show up in Google search results, my feedback on how you're showing up on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and of course my latest obsession, YouTube. I'll show you here. So if you see that blue line over here on the right, those are the views on my personal channel over the past 30 days compared to Ben Folds, one of my personal favorites, Sarah Bareilles, and Carly Pierce. I could go on, but I think you get the point. So to sum it all up, my 10 steps lead you to create content, both on and offline, that you know your audience wants because you've taken the time to figure that out. And then if you pair that with taking action on the feedback I give you in my online audit, you'll reach a new level of unstoppable online. Thank you so much for tuning in for this 10 Steps to Online Success workshop. Before you sign off, if this was helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you have any questions for me, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them, or maybe even turn them into other videos. And if you want to share what your biggest takeaway from this workshop has been, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Again, I do what I do to serve you, so I want to make sure that's what's happening. Okay? Okay. Thank you again so much for staying with me to the end, for commenting, liking, subscribing, downloading the worksheet. All these things truly keep me inspired to continue creating more resources like this. I can't wait to see what you make happen in your career and online.